well. All right, YouTube is live, I think. Yes, YouTube is live. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Instagram. Now let's do Facebook. Oh, I gotta describe my live video on this honking big iPad. All right. Sorry, you guys have to bear with me for. Hello, Sir Nicolau. This is our weekly live stream. You have to bear with me for about literally 20 seconds before we start here. Weekly live Q&A plus. Where's the plus button? There it is. Oh, that's equals. Plus. What? How do I do this? Oh, I don't know how to make a plus sign. This is the worst. What? Okay, there we go. Plus life update. There we go. Let's go live on Facebook. Sir Nicolau. Okay, go live. There we go. Oh, it's beeping at me. It's gonna fall over. Hello, Facebook. Where do I look for Facebook? Facebook, gotta look there. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Hello, YouTube. Hope everyone is doing well today. So this is something I've started to do a little bit recently. I'm not sure if you guys have watched it before or not, but I'm starting to do a weekly live stream, basically. So it's a chance to, I'll try and look at all the cameras, but I apologize if I don't look at every single camera. But essentially, it's a chance to answer any questions people have. Hello, YouTube live viewers. Hello, one on Facebook. Basically, it's a chance for me to answer any questions you guys have and talk about what's going on in my world. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. I will answer as the questions are coming in. I will just rant a little bit on what's new in my world. It'd be very nice if I had my calendar open. That always helps me. Talk about what's new in my world when I have a calendar. So, okay, here we go. Calendar's open. So, what's new in my world as I wait for some questions to come through? In my world, not a ton is new. Let's see here. So daily vlogging is going well. For anyone who doesn't know, been doing daily. Well, if you're not watching on YouTube, you don't know. But I'm doing daily vlogs now, which is going well. The one thing that I'm trying to figure out right now, and if the live people have any input, I'd love to see what you guys think or hear what you guys think. One thing I'm trying to figure out is what kind of content to post outside of my daily vlogs. So for example, the daily vlogs is like showing what's happening in my world, right? Actually, let's record this too for YouTube. There you go. So daily vlogs, obviously, like talking about what's going on in my world, what's new in my world, showing what's like happening day by day. But what I don't necessarily know, what I'm still trying to figure out is what other kind of content do I want to create? Because I feel like, especially on my YouTube, I feel like I want to have, hello, hey Amanda, how are you doing? I feel like on my YouTube, I want to have two separate types of content for two different types of people. So any of the live viewers, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, if you have any ideas, and I guess YouTube recorded, if you guys have any ideas for other types of content you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments, let me know in the live chat. I would love to know. Also, the other thing I was related to this was, yes. So on my Anchor channel, for example, that has been going interestingly, if that's even a word. So my Anchor, for those of you guys who aren't overly familiar, is basically my radio show, essentially, where I do radio hosts. So I guess I'm a radio host now, and that's going quite well. But what's interesting, and I'm thinking, I'd love any input if you guys have any. I'm thinking about bringing some of my Anchor type of content over to YouTube, over to Instagram, over to Facebook, and what that would look like is, let me try and explain this in concise terms. Sir Nicolau, I'll answer your question in just a second here. What that would look like is on my Anchor, I assume that the people watching are not overly deep into the language learning space. They're not overly deep into it. They're people who are interested, they think it's kind of cool, but they're not like language aficionados or language passionate people. And so what happens is that we do things like language fun facts. We do things like We'll talk about things like, did you know about such and such language? We'll talk about funny words in different languages. We'll do, what else do we do? Oh, I'll introduce people to funny songs and cool songs that's in different languages. And so it's way more like vanilla, if that's even a word. Way more vanilla, way more tailored to just a broad audience versus my YouTube. And what I've traditionally done in the past is it tends to be more targeted to people who are very interested in language learning. So it's a switch I'm thinking about making. I don't know if that's something I fully want to do, but I'll say it out loud again. And again, Facebook, anyone who's watching, there's a bunch of screens in front of me right now, but it looks kind of weird. YouTube, check this out. Look at all the screens. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Anyway, so it's, yeah, something I'm thinking on. So any thoughts, please let me know. Now, we have a question, so I'll answer the question that just came through. It's in Portuguese, but I understand it. So essentially, Sir Nicola wants me to talk about my system for, hey, hello, hello, hello. Well, on Facebook, we had someone just join in. I met you yesterday, cool. Anyway, so Sir Nicola wants to know about my system for learning languages. For me, I think I've talked about this before, but my system for learning languages typically looks something like this. I always start with things like YouTube. I will look up songs, look up like just basic phrases, just like things like that on YouTube. Number two, I'll typically take some kind of a class, whether it be in university, whether it be privately, whether it be online, whatever it is, take classes. At some point, I will, oh, did YouTube just freeze? Nope, it didn't, good. At some point, I will also go and travel to a country that speaks that language. That's something I'll usually do. Hey, my mom is watching on Facebook. Mommy, do watch live stream? That's funny. My mom's in the other room, which is why it's funny that she's watching on Facebook, but anyway. What was I saying? Yes, I will travel abroad to a country that speaks that language. Then I'll come back and I'll feel like a complete idiot that, oh man, I'm really bad at this language. Probably keep taking classes. At some point, I will go back to the country that speaks whatever language it is. I usually go back to it. I feel like that works well for me. And also, once I'm at an intermediate level, I will tend to do things like, hey, Erasmus, how's it going on YouTube? Hello. Once I have an intermediate level, I have a tendency to also do language exchanges, and I'll try to find people in my own city that speak that language. I'll try and have more casual ways to practice, which is good. And hello, Melancioni123 on Instagram. Anyway, yeah, and I'll try and find more casual ways to practice. And also one more thing, music. Music's a big one for me too. Music is a really big one for me. I'm always listening to music in different languages. All right, more questions that come through, this time on Instagram. Let's go, how as well. Next two questions are related. So we have ever studied Chinese from DM Scott 05. And then we have, how's your Mandarin going? So yes, I've studied Mandarin. I've been studying Mandarin for 3 years now. I don't need this YouTube recording anymore. There we go. So I've been studying for about roughly 3 years now. Hello, 2 live viewers on Facebook now, by the way. That's pretty cool. Who are the 2 viewers? Mom is one, and who's the other one? Anyway, not sure, but not a big deal. So yes, have studied Mandarin. Been studying for 3 years. I have roughly an intermediate level, so I can carry a conversation. I can talk. I can understand decent chunks, but nowhere near perfect. I probably need another 2 to 4 years before I'm really good in Mandarin. I feel very confident, but I'm okay at it, which is good. Yeah, it's good. I like it. After Mandarin, as you guys know, it'll probably be, well, anyone who follows me carefully knows. After that, it'll be Gujarati Hindi's probably next, and then Russian or Arabic, and then the last one will be the opposite of Russian Arabic, aka it'll be Russian then Arabic, or Arabic then Russian, one of the two. More questions just came through. Let's say, is the right term to say Mandarin or Mandarin Chinese or simply Chinese? So technically speaking, the correct term would be Mandarin, technically speaking. Many people will just say Chinese though. Even Chinese people will often just say Chinese for Mandarin. It's kind of interesting, but technically speaking, you should be saying Mandarin. But people do say Chinese all the time, and some people say Mandarin Chinese too, but no Chinese people say Mandarin Chinese. Yeah, usually it's Mandarin or Chinese, and people know you're talking about Chinese. talking about Mandarin. YouTube question just came through, so let's answer this one. How do you, let's make this straight, there we go. How do you, anything on Facebook? No. Okay, YouTube, how do you train intonation? It seems much more difficult than pronunciation and is much more important than pronunciation. Ah, interesting. I actually disagree with you when you say that it's much more important than pronunciation. I don't know if, in my opinion, I don't know if intonation is more important than pronunciation, but it is important. How do you train intonation? That's something I haven't really thought about. And actually, that's not true. I have thought about it, but I haven't thought about it in depth. But yeah, I haven't thought about it in depth. It is something I've thought about. I don't have a full answer for you because I don't actually know. That's one of the things, actually. This is a really, man, I need to record this for my YouTube, actually. How's my battery power doing? Good. Battery's good. Okay. So in terms of training intonation, I think one of the things that really helps, and this is not something you can necessarily teach in my experience, it's having a good ear. Like, do you have a good ear that can hear the intonation differences between, the subtle intonation differences between your first language and the language you are learning? Because often people don't hear those subtle differences. So they might actually have, like I have, a friend of mine actually has very good pronunciation when it comes to French. He has very good pronunciation in Spanish. He's not perfectly fluent in both, but his French is actually quite good. But when he speaks, you don't think that he's French. You're like, oh yeah, you have an accent, or you're not perfectly French. And you couldn't tell why, because he can pronounce every sound perfectly or near perfectly. And it's like, well, why doesn't he sound French? And one of the big reasons, he doesn't quite have that exact intonation. He doesn't quite have that, right? So that's a little bit interesting. Now, in terms of advice for it, okay, here's some advice off the top of my head. I'll think about this more, and hopefully I can give some deeper advice later. But here's some common areas that intonation's different in languages. When you ask questions, often it's different. Expressing surprise is often different. Even the natural conversation way of speaking, often there's differences in terms of how the flow. So Spanish, the flow of Spanish is very different than the flow of English, for example, right? So the advice I'd give, and this is not great, it's like it's not great, but hopefully it's at least, I would listen specifically for those areas. Questions, what did I say? The general conversation, and did I say? I had 3 different ones. I forgot what the third one was. Questions, general conversation, and oh yeah, expressing surprise. Those tend to be different. I listen specifically to those and see if you can find differences between how you would say it. And actually, what could be an interesting way to do it is if there's a way for you to record yourself and hear yourself. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Here's a really good piece of advice, actually. Here's something phenomenal. This is good for pronunciation. This is good for grammar. This is good for everything, actually. This is really good. Record yourself when you're talking and listen to yourself. It's super awkward, but you will hear your errors. You will hear it. You'll hear it. Record yourself. That's actually really good. That works phenomenally. Okay, lots of questions are coming through. I need to answer slightly faster. Let's see. What is your biggest difficulty in acquiring Chinese? I wouldn't say there's a biggest difficulty. It's just a matter of time. Just give me time. I'll get there. It's just time, practice. Let's stop this recording, by the way. There we go. Time, practice. I'm going to chip away and I'll get there. I know I will. Probably the biggest difficulty is learning to write, and only because I don't spend time at it. I do reading. I do typing. I don't do writing. So probably the biggest difficulty is writing, so I just haven't gotten around to getting myself to do it. So, however, yeah, I'm not necessarily, yeah, I'm at a point in Chinese or in Mandarin where, obviously it's still hard and I have to work at it, but I've passed the initial hurdle of that initial stages when you're a beginner, but, so yeah, it's going well. So, why would you like to speak Gujarati? Finding speakers is a little bit harder than finding Bengali or Hindi speakers. I'd like to speak Gujarati because that's my family's language. That's technically speaking I say this technically, it's not really true, but technically one could say it's my first language because I guess my mom, I guess English is also first language though. So you technically could say it's a first language because I spoke it with my family. That was like the first language, quote unquote, that I spoke, but it's not my best language. And I think the YouTube stream may have frozen. Hey, YouTube, let me just find out. YouTube has the stream frozen. There you go. Yeah, that's why. Very, very simple. And Hindi I'd like to learn because most Indians speak Hindi. And so it's just good to speak. Oh, YouTube's back. Good. Okay, perfect. What did we, oh, we got, oh, hello, Amanda. You are still here. That is cool. Amanda, how's your Chinese going, by the way? How's your Mandarin going? We haven't talked in a long time. I'll have to send you a message. We'll have to catch up. But anyway, Amanda's question is, what do you do when you're discouraged with learning a language? What do I do when I'm discouraged? I'm trying to think. Usually I get discouraged when I'm in the beginning phases. I get less discouraged. When I am more intermediate or advanced. But I tend to, what do I do? It's a very good question. I'm not sure what I do. I do take breaks. I will often I will. Hey, Jacob, I'm kicking you out, bud. Sorry, my friend on YouTube. If you're going to be, let's just block him. There we go. Jacob is blocked. There we go. So I just banned someone out of the chat. First time I've banned someone. If you're going to say stuff like that, you're out. Yeah, they're calling me not very nice things, so you're out. I kick you out. Anyway, yeah, I think I take breaks. I mean, I'm very fine with taking a break. I've gone through periods where I didn't study. I'm thinking back to China, actually, Amanda, when we were there. I'm thinking back, because I did feel discouraged a lot when I was there, because I couldn't speak with people, and it was like very frustrating. I think the big thing was, oh, I remember what I did, actually. So here's one thing. I was very, because in the beginning, what I would do is I would jump into, Amanda, you know this, actually, you saw me do it. I would jump into things that were way above our level. Remember, we used to go to those meetups, and it was like, oh my God, don't understand half of what's happening. Remember that? And so if I got really discouraged, I would stop doing things that are way above my level, and I would start doing things that are at my level or below my level. Because when you do things that are below your level, it builds your confidence, right? So you're like, oh yeah. So for example, I would do, did I do this? I'm trying to remember if I thought about it or if I actually did it. Yeah, I did do this, actually. I would do language exchanges online with people who I suspected had a lower level of English than my Mandarin. So I would do that. I also took, I also would skip class. I remember back now. I did, oh, yeah, I remember. So I would, sometimes I'd skip the afternoon class that we had, Amanda, because the afternoon class was a little bit harder, right? There's more conversation, a little more challenging. So I'd skip that class if I was feeling discouraged, because I knew it wouldn't do something instead that would help build my confidence. So I think the biggest thing is, for me anyway, when I'm feeling discouraged, it's usually because I'm doing things that are either too advanced, slightly too advanced, and pushing me too much. So I do things that are not as advanced enough to build my confidence again, build my energy, and then jump into the stuff that is at my level or higher than my level again. So, all right, here we go. I think we have some more questions here. YouTube's got one here. Oh, there's a bunch on YouTube here. I just haven't read it. Audacity, I don't hear the difference. I can notice. I want to train. I don't believe anything. Anything is something that can't be learned. Actually, here's a fun point. This is a good debate to throw out here. This is a good debate. So one person on YouTube here, Rasmus, says, long story, I'll paraphrase, but he's saying, hey, I want to train a specific aspect of my, of whatever language. I don't believe that I don't believe there's anything that can't be learned. And I want to throw this out because I've been thinking more and more that some people naturally just really suck at things, and sometimes there's a cap on where they're going to get to. And maybe not a cap, but the improvements are incremental. If I were to go throw myself into mathematics, for example, my improvements would be much slower than in languages because I'm just naturally worse at it. It's a good debate question to throw out at you guys, actually. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think that depending on the skill, you will like not be able to really pass certain levels, or your progress is very slow? Or do you think you can just, there's like a system, you can figure it out? Very curious people think about that. I used to think that you can do anything. Now I'm thinking more and more as I've worked with different people in languages, like, wow, some people, maybe they can learn language, but they're never going to have perfect pronunciation. That's just not going to happen. Or some people, like, maybe they'll have really good pronunciation, but man, they're going to take a long time to speak, like for a very long time, because they just struggle with learning. It's just not in their wheelhouse. But anyway, it's a different topic. Oh, more here. Okay. Watching Bollywood films will help out with Hindi so much. Yes, I agree. Which part of China did you visit? I was in Beijing, 3 months in Beijing. And then I also went to Taiwan for a week. I'm going back to China, actually. I want to go back next year. I want to go, but I want to be as a tourist, though, not. I just want to tour around and stuff. But and go back to Beijing. Still know some people in Beijing, so it'd be good to visit. Do you ever feel like you have to know the history of a country where the language or languages are spoken to fully understand the speakers of a particular language? Do I need to understand the history of a language to be able to understand? Wait, let me read that again. Do you ever feel like you have to know the history to understand the speakers? Okay, so do I need to know the history of a language to fully understand the speakers of the language? Do I know the history? I don't think I need to know the history per se, but the culture, yes, I do need to have a good understanding of the culture. Like that really, there's something about understanding how a group of people think or view the world. And obviously every individual is different. You can't stereotype and say this culture sees the world like this. It doesn't work that way. But there are certain traits that are similar in different cultures, right? And I think when you understand, it gives you a level of empathy. Not empathy. It's not, maybe not the right word. That's the wrong word. Maybe the word is understanding. Like, oh, that's how they view the world. Interesting. And when you understand that, maybe it doesn't change how you physically create words out of your mouth. Maybe not. But maybe it changes things like you feel different when you're talking to them. And if you feel more positively towards them when you're talking, they're likely going to feel more positively towards you, and you can build more of a connection, if that makes any sense. So for example, myself, now that I spent 3 months in China, and even now in my own city, I interact a lot with Chinese people, because for my work, I tend to get students who are Chinese that are learning languages. So, or whose parents don't really necessarily speak perfect English and things like that. I have a Chinese meetup group that I run in the city, so I'm kind of around that culture a little bit more than I used to be. And obviously I live in China too, which helps. But now I feel very differently towards Chinese people than before, even call it a year and a half ago, right? Even then, like I feel very different towards them because I feel like I have a deeper understanding. So that really helps me a lot. And interestingly, I do think that's why I'm not fantastic at translation, because when I speak a language, I really get deep into that language. And so switching into a different language is very challenging for me. It's very, very hard. So even in lessons, some of the people ask me questions like how to say something very basic when I'm teaching, like, hey, how do you say this in this language? It's like, I don't actually know, or I know, but my brain's not switching there right now. Well, even today I was teaching Spanish. Someone asked me how to say, like to look up, like to research something, like search in dictionary. And literally the word that came to mind was in Chinese, and I couldn't switch it into Spanish. And I know the word, I just couldn't think of it. I was like, why is the Mandarin word coming to my brain right now? Anyway, but let's do this here. Growth mindset. I've heard of that. I forget what it means. I forget what the growth mindset is, so I can't really comment on that. Let's go to YouTube. But he did put enough on effort to learning pronunciation. What? But did those put, I don't understand. Wait, what? Hang on. But did those put enough time and effort to learning pronunciation? And also, if they believe they can't learn pronunciation, that belief is going to stop them. Training. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I'll read this out loud. So he's so on YouTube. On YouTube here, Rasmus is saying, did the people who struggle with learning pronunciation, did they really put enough time into it? Maybe they did, maybe they're not. There's someone, this is actually highly entertaining to watch. There's someone on YouTube who is going back and forth and clicking the like, dislike, like. They've done it 3 times. Oh, and now it's gone back to 0. Like, this is highly entertaining to watch. It's going like 1 like, 0 likes, dislike, 0 0, 1 like, dislike, and now it's back at 0 0. This is extremely entertaining. It's probably the guy who was Mr. Jacob News, who was spamming like crazy, that I've kicked out of the live stream. But anyway, all right. Any more questions? Let's see here. Growth mindset came as an answer to the YouTube question as far as learning something, though you might not be able to learn it first, like your example of math. Interesting. Okay, cool. let's see. No more questions came through. Any other life updates I want to talk about that's new, that's important? Oh, here's something for the YouTube peeps and something for the Facebook peeps. Back to one like on YouTube. Interesting. Interesting thing here about my YouTube. If I don't post a daily vlog, it's probably because there wasn't much that happened, and I'm gonna post a 2-day vlog the next day, if that makes sense. So that's just a bit of an FYI for you guys. Yeah, FYI for you guys. Also, any other crazy updates here I want to talk about that are important? Oh yeah, let's talk about this. So students, yeah, I'm going on a big push for students right now for finding new students. I'm going on a big push on it. Yeah, it's a big push of mine right now. So I don't know why I want to say it, but it's on my mind. So anything else? I mean, nothing else crazy. It's on my mind. Other the questions that come through. I know there is more. I need to next time. By the way, oh, here's one. I do these live streams every Sunday, and they start half an hour ago, aka whatever time it is in your country, minus half an hour. It's every Sunday at that time. That's when I do live streams. But anyway, yeah, next time I'm gonna make a list, because I always have things that occur to me throughout the week that are important to talk about, that are like that I want you guys to know, that don't come out in my normal videos, but I don't remember. This is so funny watching this like counter on YouTube. Anyway, let's answer this here. Growth mindset is that anything can be learned, and that genius is made, not born. Interesting. Okay. I'm not going to comment on my thoughts on that. I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to keep that to myself. But anyway, looks like things have gotten pretty quiet on the chat. I don't really have much else of value that I want to say that's coming to mind right now. It's going to come to me right after I click end call. I know there's going to be stuff. But anyway, have a good day. Let's end the Facebook stream first, because Facebook is always dead. No one watches on Facebook. It's quite interesting. People watch on YouTube and Instagram, but not on Facebook. It's quite odd. Let's post this. There we go. Let's now go to YouTube, and this one here. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Perfect. Well, I'm gonna sign off here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Oh my goodness, YouTube. Bye, YouTube.